VCT Pacific is the region that encompasses Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, and India. Teams are competing in order to qualify for Masters Bangkok and Champions Paris via championship points. This is usually one of the most bizarre regions to cover, and this year, the rise of Prisa Gaming as the Ascended team, the fall of an org that brought us the other Ascended team, alongside all the roster moves in Pacific. Nongshim Redforce, Boom Esports, DFM, RRQ, Team Secret, Global Esports, Zeta Division, T1, Talon, DRX, PaperRex, and Gen.G. This is the Hater's Guide to Valorant Champions Tour Pacific Kickoff Stage. What an absolute mess of a season for Bleed Esports. Meiy, who was the most hyped part of this roster. Oh wait, they got kicked out of franchising? Yes, one of my favorite moments of 2022 is back.
Many players are going across. Pure silence. No!
No way! No way!
Right there!
No way!
This time, while they did not win the Ascensions qualifier, what they did accomplish was making it all the way to the grand finals to lose to the actual winners in Prisa Gaming. The reality is that there is zero expectation for this roster to accomplish anything, seeing as they got gifted this opportunity. But it is Boom Esports at the end of the day, so they could go on a run. This roster is currently DOS9, Famous, Shiro, NC Slasher, and Berser X. Their season looks like hot trash, struggling to even win the Predator League against other Tier 2 talents, and while they did not change one member since the Ascensions Grand Final, like I said, there is no expectation for this team to accomplish anything. This will either be the gift that keeps on giving for these players, or Boom will try to make some changes and try to survive in the league. Oh my goodness, one of the best noodles companies has joined VCT, and you know what? I'm all about it. Prisa Gaming was acquired by Nongshim Redforce after the Ascensions win, as Prisa was a free agent team. While I like the old logo more, this should help with the financial stability of the team. Prisa Gaming was Team Alpha all the way back at Clash Nations Korea, and the team managed to win the Challengers Korea Open qualifier. For a while they did struggle in the first Korean split, but they found incredible momentum in the second one, all the way into the Ascensions tournament, in which they went undefeated in Split 2 and then went undefeated again in the Ascensions tournament. In 16 matches, they only dropped 8 maps. This team is absolutely insane, and for the first time, I think this is one of the teams that has the potential to make an impact in VCT right away. Their undefeated run does remind me of Loud's story all the way back in 2022. Ivy is their flex player, Persia is their smokes, France is their initiator, Dambi their duelist, and Margaret is their sentinel player. If you want to see how far I think they'll go check out Exit Frag, mine and Esports Andy's channel, where we bring in guests from all areas of VCT to talk about the league. We recently did our pick'ems for every region, so check it out in the link in the description below. Shameless plug aside, I think this team will have the potential to beat some of the lower end teams and maybe establish itself as one of the top 5 teams in the region. I cannot believe that I edited, uploaded, and published a whole ass haters guide, and I forgot to talk about Talon Esports. And you know why? Other than being overwhelmed and burned out by covering 36 teams in the span of 3 weeks. The fact that this roster has not changed and had a rather underwhelming offseason. They didn't qualify for the Rebel Homegrounds main event, they went 3-5 at the 10 Invitational, and crashed out at Soup Valorant League. Look, I don't want to be negative Nancy on this team because I really like how Blunt Frost is, and it makes for such great content, which is why I think Spike Talk is the number 2 podcast in the scene. But back to Talon. I really don't expect much, so I'll just be happy if they win more than half of their matches. Detonation Focus Me has been the laughingstock of VCT almost since the start, and you know what? They deserve all the flack they got from being god-awful the last 2 seasons. That being said, there has emerged a talent that might be considered the chosen one of Japan, Meiy. In the absolute sea of trash that was this team, he has proven himself as probably the best player in the Japanese scene since last retired. If you're out of the loop, Meiy has been playing duelist role for DFM since they merged the roster from Crazy Raccoon, and while this team has been awful, people have seen that Meiy is quite the talent. This offseason, they've tried to build a roster around him, and DFM have been trying to get as many reps in as possible, with DFM playing the Red Bull Homegrounds APAC play-ins, the Radiant Asian Invitational, and the Riot Games 1. The results have been less than stellar. DFM failed to qualify at the Red Bull Homegrounds main event, losing out to Zeta Division. Then at the Radiant Asian Invitational is where they looked the strongest, where they would make it all the way to the grand finals, beating out EDG, RRQ, Trace, and Paper Rex, but unfortunately came short in a rematch against Paper Rex. Riot Games 1, they beat Leviathan, but lost to Fnatic and Zeta Division again. This team will not be a contender team. Don't get your hopes up. Meiy, while good, I don't think has that carry potential to get them over the 0.500 percentage. I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Paper Rex had probably the most boring off-season, I will say, with them neither adding or subtracting anyone as they made 0 roster moves. They did win a couple off-season tournaments, which to them means a lot. I mean, it shouldn't, but hey, if it helps the team's morale. Don't get me wrong, Paper Rex is a solid team, but even then, they are far from title contenders, with even Alex getting frustrated with them as they continue to fail themselves when a little bit of pressure is remotely applied to them. And with the burst of more young talent entering Pacific in DFM and DRX, you can kind of see that their grips are slowly slipping. Are they gonna do well in Pacific? Of course. It's Paper Rex. You can't expect them not to roll over Pacific. Are they gonna win an international? 99%? No chance.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm lumping RRQ and Team Secret into one segment because the reality is these teams not only have hardly changed their rosters, but they suffer the same woes every single year. We hype up a group of regional underdog talents and we start claiming that this is their year to finally break out, only to suffer the cruel reality that this game, and specifically this region, will be dominated by one of the Korean teams. Don't get me wrong, I want a team of Alpinoyos and Indonesian players to win, but I won't believe it until I see it. That being said, I'm still a fan of APAC FNS and Jesse Vash and Team Secret, and definitely Monyet from RRQ, because he was done dirty by Paper Rex the previous years. I won't fall for the same pitfalls as last year, but hey, these are all fun teams to root for, because in the case that they do finally break out, you can say you were there in the tough times too.
Gen.G undoubtedly had the best 2024 run out of all the teams in the VCT. They finished number 1 in the Kickoff event, lost to Sentinels in Masters Madrid, then finished 2nd in Stage 1 after losing to Paper Rex in a close best of 5, after which they would make their well-known run at Masters Shanghai, giving Pacific their first ever trophy. However, as they approached champs, they would lose to Heretics and Sentinels, ultimately ending their 2024 run. Many people were unsure as to what changes Gen.G would make for their 2025 roster. I mean, surely it was a roster built to dominate, and so any changes to this roster wouldn't be accepted so easily. Gen.G would retain Texture, Munchkin, and Karon, which means Lakia and Meteor were out of this roster. Eventually, Yoman would come in to replace Lakia, and Foxy9 would replace Meteor. Gen.G, after making these changes, would compete in 3 different off-season tournaments against Chinese teams, Pacific teams, and even a few NA teams. While Yoman was initially doubted by a lot of fans, after a couple games, he quickly proved his worth. However, with Foxy9, I think it's unfair that he has to replace Meteor, who's undeniably the best Sentinel in Pacific. While the results have been kinda mixed, I don't think the changes to the Gen.G roster have impacted them too much. But it's ignorant to say that without Meteor and Lakia, the team would still perform the same. Because as of now, Gen.G look like a team that can either finish top 3 or top 2 in Pacific. Ideally on paper, the only teams that pose a threat to them are T1 and Paper Rex. Looking at the Kickoff bracket, I have a strong feeling that Gen.G can really make a run, at least to the upper final, but after that, I guess we'll have to see. I'm Bustyval, and it's always a pleasure to be on Zeph's Haters Guide.
Do you know how much I hate Termi? If you've been like 5 seconds in this channel before, you know I don't like this guy. He makes some of the most incongruent decisions I have ever seen. And I wouldn't even call DRX's offseason a bad offseason. Sure, they lost to some top teams, but they have also beat a lot of teams. This roster is at least consistently good. Athan, Mako, Flashback, Hyunmin, and Freeing were performing as expected. Not amazing, but good at least. Termi gets back from his vacation, and now Athan has magically stepped down from the main roster to the academy roster again. I truly don't believe the statement that Athan and DRX mutually agreed for him to step down from the tier 1 position to the academy roster. If you've been in esports for more than a couple of months, you'll know that this statement is bullshit. DRX is and always will be an org that squanders its talent, and to this day I will bet that if DRX had stuck with the Vision Strikers core with a different coach, they would have been the first ones with an international trophy for APAC. I cannot fathom such incompetence. Mako being on this roster has to be one of the saddest things imaginable, squandering the career of a man who should have been one of the greats in this game. And there will still be people in my comments saying that I'm being too negative towards this team. Hey, you know what? No love lost here for me. Enjoy your continued mediocrity.
India rise up. Just kidding, global esports has no Indian players really leading into their name. But India, fear not. While there are no Indian players, this team is super underrated. This roster has been completely reworked after a lackluster last season, with them picking up rising star Crystal from China's Ascension team, combined him with a really hyped Korean talent in Athan to give them two possibly huge pieces. Around them, they have Patrick Hu, Kelly S, and Poppy, who are solid tier 2 Filipino talent, with Patrick Hu specifically looking insane on the pre-nerf Neon. So there's real potential. But then again, this is global, and we'll probably see Crystal or Athan win a Champions Trophy next year with like Koi before they even make the playoffs with global.
Being a Zeta Division fan is worse than being a fan of a team who is just plain bad. Zeta always find a way to get your hopes up that this is the year that they will finally carry the Japanese flag to an international event, only for their new signings to be a complete waste of time. Example, Yuran and Hiroron last year came in with a crazy amount of hype and were absolute disappointments all year. Zeta's natural response was to change their roster again this year, except this time around I haven't heard one soul be excited about this new roster. Depp and Sugar Zero are back because of course they are. Shota, XDLL, and CZL are coming from Fennel, who got second place at the VCL Japan tournament. Jesus, if you're going to sign Fennel, can we at least get some of their cool aesthetics for a change? Make me care. Make your fans care. Somehow DFM with only Meiy is more important and has more hype than all of Zeta Division. T1, unlike the garbage that has been DRX, has made some incredible offseason moves and have truly assembled one of the best rosters in APAC. Stax is back to lead this team, and I couldn't be happier to see the IGL that should have won it all to get an opportunity again. Joining him is what I always considered to be the backbone of Gen.G in Meteor, a sentinel flex player who has always been able to frag regardless of the position you're playing him at. Buzz, who has been carrying DRX through their mediocre seasons and then got cut, and the best part of the old T1 roster is Izu. Joining the roster is Sylvan from Tier 2, while not finding too much success in Tier 2, or the 23 year with Gen.G, has been able to find some rhythm with this core of players. T1 has only dropped one match in the offseason, and even then, it was a best of one. They beat RRQ, Zeta, the 24 champions in EDG, Trace, Foot, G2, and Cloud9, and won the Red Bull Homegrounds trophy. This has to be one of the scariest teams in VCT, and at this point, I may be gassing them up, but I will never doubt a team with Meteor, Stax, and Buzz all in the same roster. And that's it. Pacific this year for me has lacked the hype that has in previous years. I think the reality is there are probably 5 teams that are top of the food chain, but I really do hope Nongshim Redforce actually managed to prove themselves. Huge shout out to Fulshi, Busty Val, and my Exit Frag co-host Esports Andy. You should definitely check all of their channels out, they're linked in the description below. Like last time, I always try to have some regional representation in my videos, so I thank him for coming on. Up next should be some weekly videos talking about America's matches, so subscribe for more content. I'll see you for that, and for the Bangkok guide. next month. Huge shout out to all the channel members: Extended Warranty, Lazy Foo, Ankles, Wear Vintage, Anonymous Gamer, Tax Evasion, Hal Hades, Juan David Vergara, and Jules. I really appreciate you guys' continued support. And if you're interested in joining the channel membership, it's only $1 a month, and you get access to all the haters guides 24 hours ahead of time. See you at the Bangkok one for sure. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.